You're listening to The Coffee Hour. I'm Andy Bates.
I'm Sarah Gulseth.
Thanks to Concordia University, Wisconsin for supporting The Coffee Hour. Find out more about Concordia University, Wisconsin at cuw.edu.
Live uncommon.
We get to head across the ocean today. I'm so excited. And thanks to the really cool technology, we get to share stories of our friends, our beloved missionaries, as they serve the Lord in so many places. Today, we head to Uganda. We're going to talk with Mark and Megan Mantey, who serve the Lord there. Oh, goodness. So excited to share your stories. Mark, Megan, thank you so much for joining us on the Coffee Hour.
Thank you for having us.
Well, tell us about how you all serve the Lord in Uganda.
Mark and I have served the Lord in Uganda for just over 3 years, and we both are missionaries in Uganda. I serve as an instructor of Christian education and counseling, and that means that I'm mostly teaching Christian education and counseling courses at the seminary that assists the Lutheran Church of Uganda.
I was sent to Uganda as a project manager, but the Lutheran Church of Uganda asked me to be an administrator at the seminary here. So I have kind of a dual role there where I act as a go-between our mission in Africa and also with the operating of the seminary there in Maga Maga.
So in the last few months, we've all been experiencing this global pandemic, this COVID-19 pandemic. How has that affected the community around you where you are?
Wow. So we are so thankful that in Uganda, there have not been that many cases. There's over 100 COVID-19 cases. But here in Uganda, they're very used to dealing with Ebola and also HIV and AIDS. And so they are very proactive in keeping their people safe. And so they have many different ways to keep people safe. And that includes all schools are out. So from elementary through college, that includes a seminary. We're not allowed or able to drive our vehicles right now. No public and private transportation. There's a curfew in place for 6 p.m. When you're walking, you have a mask and all of those things. We've been very thankful and blessed that at this time we still walk alongside the Lutheran Church of Uganda, but our day-to-day interactions, we're mostly working from home. And our colleague, Rachel Meyer, who serves here with us, is also staying with us at our house. So our house is kind of the LCMS Command Central in Uganda right now.
That is, it's a blessing, I'm sure, to be able to be close in while you're working together. Might also be challenging, I'm sure, at times as well. How is the Word of God still being proclaimed and shared in your community in light of this pandemic?
Well, I'll tell you a real fast story that the radio was instrumental in the building of this church in the early 90s. And Lutheran Hour was a part of that. And it seems as COVID has returned the church back to the radio, and in many areas, people are now hearing worship and devotion in local language. And a lot of times you find that since English is the language of Uganda, a lot of times previously there might be a worship in English, but nothing for local language. But now we're seeing more offerings of local language. And then some pastors are even using Facebook or even phone calls. So they'll use like a conference call style approach to bring their congregants worship.
How have you been able to work with the Lutheran Church of Uganda with all of these other opportunities, maybe blessings in an odd way? How have you been able to continue working with the Lutheran Church of Uganda?
Well, it's a very the culture of Uganda is an oral culture. So luckily, phone calling is still very much permitted, and we speak to church leaders all the time. We actually have a project still ongoing at the seminary that was supported by Mission Central and also the Tin Roof uh, initiative from Synod. And so we still even have builders working there that we're interacting with over the phone. Obviously it's hard to get there with no transport, but we still have people there and we're still making contact and moving along in that way. We're definitely ready to get back to normal.
And additionally, I interact a lot with the students, and so they've been regularly calling. I've regularly been calling them. They're in their home communities and rural villages, and so they still have a lot of questions. They've learned all this theory at the seminary, but then how to apply it, especially in light of COVID and how it's taken over. So we still are very busy and able to interact, and we're thankful to get back to the quote unquote normal, but we're also thankful for opportunities of how we interact now.
You mentioned earlier that the seminary is closed. So does that mean all teaching has ceased for the time being for the seminary? You're not able to teach any classes?
Correct. In this culture, internet can often be expensive to get. Not all people have access to computers and TVs, sometimes even radios. So it wouldn't be feasible to continue teaching. So it was best for us just to put it on hold for that time being.
Mhm.
Whenever we are allowed to go back, we'll have to pick up where we left off in the semester, and then just continue forward. So the church body is talking about what that will look like, and they very much are the lead in it. And then, as Mark and I are the missionaries, we walk alongside them and help them enact what they've come up with.
Hmm. So, how then are you able to connect with folks in the community still? How are you able to interact? What level of interaction do you have with people in the community at this point?
Mostly through phone calls. WhatsApp is always a big one. In Uganda, it's all about the relationships. Relationships are vital, and so you never drop off completely. You will be on the phone or talking to someone. Face to face interactions right now aren't as popular. Even within Uganda, that people are maintaining what they'll say 4 meters here, so over 6 feet of distance from one another in many ways. Mark today bought a bicycle so that we can have a bicycle to use. So he bought a bicycle so that we can get to the market a little bit easier than walking. So that was nice. So we interact with people when we're shopping, when we're doing those things as well.
We are able to have a worship service every week over Zoom, and we've made it a point to invite neighbors and people that we know on our lane to come share in that. And then also, just like any home, there's always something that needs fixing. So we continue to call on contractors and different tradespeople and try to, at this time, also minister through them through just our behavior. So, not distancing, but also welcoming and trying to be a support to others at this time.
How has life been for you over the last several weeks? You mentioned another missionary living with you, buying a bike, which I think is awesome. But how has life been for you? What are some of the things that have been most challenging or joyful even during this time?
I think for me, something that I've enjoyed, as Mark was saying about our neighbors, we have neighbors that share what they call a compound. They share land with us. And so, on a pretty regular basis, the 5-year-old son, he comes over. He's currently obviously not in school right now. So, I went to school as a DCE and I teach at the seminary. So, elementary education is not in my basket of tools as much. But he comes over and we read books, we read Bible studies, we're practicing our letters, we're practicing our numbers, we're watching YouTube videos about Bible stories. And so that's always brought a smile to my face and brought me a lot of joy. We play what they call football here, soccer. I'll be inside working, and you just need a break. You need to change the brain for a little bit. So I'll go outside, and he always has a soccer ball, and he's ready to play. So situations like that bring me a lot of joy.
I think it's really important that our team here in East Africa has been able to stay on the field. And I really, it's not easy, but at the same time, uh, we've shown others in the community and the church that we work with that we're partners here. That's the thing that I would say really encourages me to keep on going when things become difficult. Is that we are here and we continue to be a partner in building the church here in Uganda.
Megan, as a fellow DCE and spending so much time on the screen, on the computer lately, I too have found that a little soccer, kicking the ball around with my 6-year-old son, has been a nice brain break. So I can relate to that. It's nice to get up and move around and just get outside and enjoy some fresh air. How can we pray for you, for your team serving in Uganda?
I think praying for, especially the local church there, because of what's happening here, people often live paycheck to paycheck. And so they're not able to get the food that they need, as many are not working right now. So the Lutheran Church of Uganda has been working very diligently to help with some of that relief work, helping in the communities, especially in the suburbs that are just outside the towns. And so continue to pray for them and the leaders of the Lutheran Church of Uganda, that they can use this opportunity to show mercy and show Christ's love to people, but not just about physical food, but about spiritual food. For us, for the relationships that we maintain with the church and its people, that we continue to share the love of Christ, and that we can find opportunities to share the gospel, even in situations, and also relationships with our fellow missionaries, whether we're living together right now or whether we're serving in various places throughout the world, just to pray for the ministry that we're so thankful and that we're grateful to be doing.
Mark and Megan Mantey serve the Lord through the Lutheran Church Missouri Synod as missionaries in Uganda. Mark and Megan, thank you so much for being our guests on the Coffee Hour today.
Thank you.
Thank you too.
I'm Andy Bates.
I'm Sarah Golseth.